Hi, I'm Kyle Rittenhouse, Outreach Director for Texas Gun Rights. A lot of people are upset that I said I'm going to be writing in Ron Paul for President of the United States. And that is true. I will be writing in Ron Paul. Unfortunately, Donald Trump had bad advisors making him bad on the Second Amendment, and that is my issue. If you cannot be completely uncompromisable on the Second Amendment, I will not vote for you, and I will write somebody else in. We need champions for the Second Amendment, or our rights will be eaten away and eroded each day. I support my decision, and I have no takebacks.
A few moments later.
You've got to be kidding me. Donald Trump's campaign got so upset that Kyle Rittenhouse withdrew his endorsement from Donald Trump that members of the Trump campaign called Kyle Rittenhouse to beg for his endorsement back. And it looks like Kyle Rittenhouse is giving it back to them, because this is what he said just now, and it reads, quote, "Over the past 12 hours, I've had a series of productive conversations with members of the Trump team, and I'm confident he will be the strong ally gun owners need to defend our Second Amendment rights. My comments made last night were ill-informed and unproductive. I'm 100% behind Donald Trump."
All right, guys, so we got to talk about Kyle Rittenhouse, who just experienced a case of instant regret, because he came out and basically said that, look, guys, despite the fact that Trump supporters and Trump supported me when I needed support the most, when I was under attack by the left, they were trying to throw me in prison, okay? They're trying to take away my livelihood, and you guys financially supported me. Even though you guys did all that for me, I'm deciding that, you know what, because of certain issues like Trump not being 2A enough, okay, I'm going to vote for Ron Paul, okay? And Kyle Rittenhouse predictably got a ton of backlash for what a lot of people see as a betrayal of Trump and also the MAGA movement. Now, probably a few hours after he announced this, he instantly decided that, you know what, I was not thinking about this correctly. Let me retract my position and come out and to say, you know what, I'm in fact going to stand behind Trump, because this is what he posted this afternoon after getting massive backlash. He says, "Over the past 12 hours, I've had a series of productive conversations with members of the Trump's team, and I am confident he will be the strong ally gun owners need to defend our Second Amendment rights. My comments made last night were ill-informed and unproductive. I'm 100% behind Donald Trump and encourage every gun owner to join me in helping send him back to the White House." Okay, so he went from, I'm voting for Ron Paul, which in my opinion, I'm not even surprised he came out and said that, because this is typically how 21-year-olds think, right? This is kind of how I thought when I was 21, right? I'm going to rebel against the system, and you know what? I'm not voting for either of the major candidates because I am pure when it comes to my policy positions, right? Anybody that doesn't agree with me 100%, hey, I'm just not going to vote. I'm going to sit it out, or I'm going to vote for somebody else. This is how all 21-year-olds kind of think, okay? And this is why I didn't really think this was that big of a deal when this story first came out, and I'm glad I waited before I talked about it, because, again, he's already kind of retracted what he said. But you got to kind of think about it like this, okay? Look at what the left is doing with this whole issue of Israel and Gaza, okay? You have a lot of people on the left saying, you know what? The left does not agree with me 100%. Democrats don't agree with me 100% when it comes to this issue of Israel and Gaza, so therefore I'm sitting out, right? I'm not going to vote, or I'm going to vote for somebody else, okay? And in my opinion, personally, I think that you kind of have something similar happening here with Kyle Rittenhouse, except he changed his mind, because he may have had a battery put in his back in the first place, because according to Dom LaCour, Kyle had been working with Rocky Mountain gun owners, a gun lobby ran by serial Trump hater Dudley Brown. Rocky Mountain Gun is the Colorado affiliate of the National Association for Gun Rights. The national organization helped fund Rittenhouse amid his legal case when he was in trouble. Rittenhouse's announcement for not voting for Trump was actually posted by Dudley Brown first. That post is still on Kyle's page. This company has a history of spending tens of thousands of dollars against pro-Trump candidates. Rittenhouse has spoke for Rocky Mountain gun owners at multiple venues and events. He is even seen wearing their shirt during his speeches and appearances. Just go to Dudley Brown's Twitter page and search Kyle. After that, search Trump. Okay, so Here's what I believe, right? I think that there's a good chance that Dom LaCour is probably owned to something in the sense that Kyle Rittenhouse is a young, impressionable young man who got thrust into the national spotlight for unfortunately having to defend his own life doing BLM protests. Now, here's the thing. My initial reaction to Kyle Rittenhouse and his announcement that he was voting for Ron Paul, again, was not very surprised, okay, especially for the reasons that he outlined, because, again, there are people on both sides of the aisle that are like that, right? Like, there are a lot of people that are saying, hey, I'm not going to vote for Trump because, you know, I think Trump might be too friendly with the alphabet, right? There are a lot of people like that. Kyle Rittenhouse is just one of many people like that, okay? And do I really have a problem with those people? Yes and no, okay? In the sense that people who say, you know what, I don't like either candidate, I am going to sit out, right? I just don't want to vote. I'm like, okay, fine, right? It is what it is. I'm not mad about that. Unless you are quite literally a traitor, like an Anna Navarro or Alyssa Farah Griffin, where not only are you saying that, well, I'm not going to vote for Trump, I'm going to sit it out. You're saying that, hey, I might vote for Kamala Harris. And you also are essentially cheering for the Democrat Party. And when you go on national television, all you do is shield for the Democrat Party, lie on behalf of the Democrat Party, even though you call yourself a conservative and a Republican, which is what Anna Navarro and Alyssa Farah Griffin do. Okay, they say that we are conservative Republicans, but you shield for Democrats by supporting their far left agenda, specifically Anna Navarro when it comes to the LGBTQ stuff. It's like you're not a conservative, right? You might be a libertarian at best, but you're definitely not a conservative, okay? You're definitely not a conservative. Yeah, when you do stuff like that, when you support Kamala Harris, who is the most progressive presidential candidate that we've ever seen, but yet you say that you are a conservative Republican, it doesn't make sense. Like that's something that I just can't, I can't stand that, okay? That is something to legitimately be upset about, right? That is something that somebody legitimately deserves some backlash over, because it's just like, just stop calling yourself a Republican. Stop calling yourself a conservative if you're openly going to cheer on the most progressive agenda that we've ever seen. Doesn't make sense. But when you are one of these people who are a single issue voter, where you say that, hey, you know what? I'm not going to vote for one of the two major candidates, one of the candidates that actually has a chance to win. Okay, let's be more specific about this. I'm not going to do it because I'm a purist on a certain issue, and I don't like the fact that the candidate that I'm likely to vote for is not going to do X, Y, and Z, right? Or they're not pure enough on the issue. In this case, Trump is not pure enough on Second Amendment rights, according to Kyle Rittenhouse. This is what he says, right? This is his reason, okay? This is allegedly what he believes. Well, if that's the case, wouldn't it make sense to vote for the candidate that is not going to move us in the opposite direction that you say that you want the country to go in? Why would you cast one less vote for Trump that could possibly help his opponent win when you know that his opponent is objectively way worse than Trump would ever be on the Second Amendment? It doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense. And this is why I say that this is more of an immature 21-year-old mindset that, again, is a mindset that a lot of people have at that age. I mean, again, there's a large portion of the left that has that same mindset when it comes to Israel and Gaza, right? What they don't understand is that in the long term, Israel's going to take that land. Like, I mean, that's the honest to God truth, okay? And that it doesn't matter how they vote. All the politicians are pro-Israel, right? And Israel's going to get what they want. They just don't realize it yet, right? They just don't realize it, okay? All this protesting and boohoo whining and crying is not going to change anything. There's not going to be a two-state solution because neither party is interested in a two-state solution. They do not want to live together in peace, and that is the honest-to-God truth that nobody wants to admit, okay? Israel is the stronger nation, and eventually they're going to take all the land. But hey, if they want to sit out because of it, great, right? I'm not going to, object, okay? But again, in the case of Kyle Rittenhouse, somebody that, would possibly vote for a candidate that I support, yeah, I think that that mentality is short-sighted, right? You got to understand that politics is push and pull, okay? In order to push or pull the country in a certain direction, you have to win consecutively, right? You have to continue to win and win and win. How is it that cities like Chicago and New York or states like California have become Democrat Party strongholds? It's because Democrats have been winning in those states for years and years and years, decades and decades and decades, right? And that's how you take a state or a city and you make it far left, right? Same thing that happens at the nationwide level when you're talking about the direction of the country as a whole, okay? A lot of people don't like the fact that Trump has moderated himself on certain issues like abortion. Some conservatives are upset and they're saying, oh, no, we shouldn't moderate ourselves on the issue, even though in the polls, Republicans should definitely moderate themselves on the issue because that's where the country's at right now. Now, there are some issues where you don't need to moderate yourself. Like, for example, on immigration. Most of the country right now wants mass deportation. So we can be as far right as we want to be on immigration right now, and we should, right? We should be as conservative as we possibly can on the immigration issue because the country has the appetite for that. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, I hope that makes sense. It's not a hard thing to understand. There are some issues where, hey, you got to moderate yourself, meet the people in the middle. That doesn't mean that you're abandoning your principles. It just means that right now you can't win elections if you try to be too conservative on a certain issue where the country doesn't agree with you on it. The reality is that Trump has to moderate himself because that's where most of the country is right now. And in order to get the country to move in the direction that you want, you have to win, right? You got to win, and then you got to win again, and then you have to continue to win, right? That is how it works. The reason why we're stuck in the middle when it comes to politics, okay, and it seems as if only the extremes are getting more extreme, right, is because it's always this back and forth. You had Obama, he won, okay, in 2007, 2008, and then after that, you had Trump, and then you got Biden. It's going back and forth because that's where the country's at right now, okay? The country is in a gridlock, right? So you got to win, okay? In a country that's in gridlock, that's literally, again, in the middle, okay? They're divided, okay, between Democrats and Republicans and which party is the best equipped to take the country in the right direction as a whole. You have to appeal to the middle, the moderates, okay, in order to get them their votes. And then you have to lead with a vision and an agenda that is going to expand the base and to continue to rack up victories, whether it be in the Senate, in the House, in the presidency, that is going to allow you to slowly move in the direction that you want to move in, okay? But you're not going to take, a big jump in one direction in one election. It just doesn't happen, okay? What happens is that, again, you have to have consecutive wins in order to accumulate power and public consensus that, hey, yeah, this is a direction that we want the country to go in, okay? So even if Trump was a 2A purist, he's not going to get constitutional carry nationwide in his next term, right? Like, that's just not happening, okay? It's not happening. So again, if you understand that, then you got to understand that, hey, the time to kind of hash out these details is during the primary, right? But when it comes to the general election, the calculation has to be, okay, I might not be getting what I want or everything that I want from my preferred candidate, but I do know that if I let the other candidate win, then I'm going to lose more of my rights, okay? At the very least, with the guy that I prefer, I'm probably going to keep my rights, okay? Would you rather keep your rights and maybe have a chance to regain some of these rights that have been taken away? Or would you rather have somebody in office that is just going to continue to take away your rights and is dead set on doing things like, for example, banning, quote unquote, assault rifles? And what they actually really mean is banning modern sporting rifles, which is what Kyle Rittenhouse used to defend himself, right? So that's what Kamala wants to do. Kamala wants to ban the weapon that you use to defend yourself. Arguably, you would be dead if Kamala could have it her way. And if you want to keep your rifles, which I'm sure Kyle definitely loves his rifles, right? He's a 2A purist. Then you might not want to just allow the person who wants to ban your rifles to win, okay? Because you want to be a 2A purist. You want something that you're probably not going to get in this election cycle, no matter who you vote for, right? So you might as well vote for the best person that actually has a chance of winning, that is less likely to take away more of your rights. I'm not one of these people that's calling him a traitor or, saying that he's a bad person or that, I don't support him anymore because of that, because my support for Kyle Rittenhouse had nothing to do with his support for Trump. It had everything to do with the fact that I believe that in his situation, he did the right thing. Okay, he defended himself, and my support of him is basically support for self defense, right? It's support for Second Amendment rights, okay? It really has nothing to do with him as a person and his support of Trump as much as it has to do with the symbolism behind the situation that he went through and the fact that the left is continuously trying to ruin a man's life, a young man's life, because he defended himself. Again, that to me is just wrong, okay? So that's what it's about. So I'm not one of these people that's like, oh, you can't support him anymore, you should cancel him because he's not voting for Trump. No, I'm one of these people that believes that, hey, you should tell him that I don't think that this is a wise decision. You know, this is the flaw in your thinking, but you're free to vote for whoever you want to vote for, okay? That's up to you. Now, what I will say is that because MAGA and Trump supported Kyle at a time in which, again, the left tried to throw this man in prison for a long time for defending himself, I think without MAGA, without Trump, who knows, he could have went to prison, could have been in prison, okay? A lot of bad things could have happened. Most certainly, he definitely, I think, will have a much harder time making a living if it wasn't for our side of the aisle. I just don't think that it was a good move for him to say that out loud, right? If you want to go to the voting booth and quietly vote for Ron Paul, knock yourself out. But when you have a whole group of people who supported you and your freedom, stood up against the left when they were trying to ruin your life for, again, you defending yourself, okay, exercising your Second Amendment rights, when you come out and you project to your millions of followers that, hey, I'm not voting for Trump, I'm voting for Ron Paul, yeah, you're going to get a lot of backlash. I don't think that that was a smart move, right? I think that if you're going to not support Trump, at the very least, you can continue to support whatever you support, stand on your principles, okay, and just stay out of it in regards to who you're going to vote for, okay? But when you come out here and you say that you're voting for somebody else, you're effectively casting a vote that could allow Kamala Harris to win, yeah, you're going to get a lot of backlash. A lot of people are going to feel betrayed and they're going to be upset. And in this case, Kyle Rittenhouse seems to have gotten a message and he has now had a change of heart, at least publicly, right? I don't know if he'll actually vote for Trump, but at least publicly, he understands that this was a massive, massive, massive mistake. But hey, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I'm not being that hard on the guy. I just think that his thinking is flawed, but his thinking is normal for somebody his age. Is not that big of a deal. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.